Okay, so have you ever wondered why humans are so obsessed with feeding other animals? Why do we love building birdhouses and filling them with food for them to eat? Or why do we always love feeding fish or ducks with bread while enjoying an evening beside the lake? And don't even get us started on how much we love feeding our pets. Keep on watching to find out the answer as to why we enjoy doing this so much. But before we continue, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell for more interesting videos like the one you're about to watch. Before we answer why humans love feeding other animals, let's travel back in time a bit. Can you believe that selling birdseed is a huge business in England and America? While India has it a bit different, they actually throw chunks of meat high up in the air for birds to catch and eat. Thousands of sailors roam the sea each year to catch fish for our dear cats. But what is this all about? Why are we always willing to pay to feed other animals? Humans have been feeding animals since they discovered the benefits of domesticating them. And ever since then, humans have been feeding animals for no apparent reason, sometimes even giving them luxurious food. This unexplainable behavior has led scientists to go crazy to find the answer as to why we do such a thing and how it has affected animals in the long run. The answer might be extinction. One really striking answer is extinction. Domestication might have led many animals to go extinct. So, since the wild ancestors of cattle and horses are gone, feeding domesticated cattle and horses has been a must for them to not disappear. This way of animal feeding is purely practical. We feed cows, chickens, and other livestock for our personal gain, which are eggs, meat, dairy products, and even monetary gains. Throughout thousands of years, this factor has become imprinted in our ancestors' minds. They understood that by feeding domesticated animals, they would have a better chance of survival in the world, whether it was regarding food or even being protected. Okay, purposeful feeding might be somewhat explainable, but many forms of animal feeding still remain questionable to this day. For example, there is not one single reason as to why people in Delhi throw chunks of meat at flying birds. These birds are known as the black kites, and they're one of the most overpopulated wild animals in the world, only because of religious beliefs. People from all around the world also feed street dogs and cats that live within their local area, eventually treating them as animal neighbors. Homeless people are also known for sharing their food with stray dogs, even though they don't always have a meal to feed off of for the day. This behavior is really weird, considering the fact that humans are programmed with a survival of the fittest and competitive mentality. But we still do not have a full explanation as to why humans are obsessed with feeding other animals. It might be because not a lot of scientists have given much importance to this matter. However, this will not last long, as researchers in Scotland and England are finally moving a step forward to finding out this unsettling answer. Recently, 5 researchers from England pursued a collaborative, multidisciplinary attempt to give animal feeding an explanation. They have called this project from Feed the Birds to Do Not Feed the Animals, which is kind of a weird name if you think about it. How feeding animals affected them in the long run. As the study of this project went on, many ancient chicken bones were investigated. The study soon revealed a lot about these animals' diets. Researchers found that all chickens were being fed similar food, which was a lot of grains. This study showed that before chickens were raised mainly for consumption, people were more focused on feeding them. This eventually led to domestication, and soon after, chickens became a major meat source for people. There were even religious beliefs where chickens were seen as sacred as dogs and cats. This was proven to be true with the Romans, as they used to bury chicken with cats. But besides chickens being treated equally to our loyal furry friends, wild cats were found to live among humans as well. Researchers found that both domesticated and wild cats included fish in their diet, which is quite a luxurious food for them even today. But this makes this whole analogy as to why we love to feed animals a lot more confusing, because why did we start feeding cats fish in the first place? Could religion have to do with the reason we feed our cats fish? Well, not exactly. Researchers give us quite an interesting explanation as to why this happened. Studies show that the first people that domesticated cats were monks. After they found out that these little creatures loved catching mice and feeding off of them, they believed that it was a good idea to keep cats as pets because no mice meant no disease at that time. Now, because monks practiced fasting and mainly included fish in their diet, researchers strongly believe that this introduced cats with a new food option, which they eventually grew to love. The funny part about this is that now, an entire cat food business is running and getting wealthy because monks decided to give cats fish instead of something cheaper like grains or fruit. The negative side of feeding wild animals. Another thing that from Feed the Birds to Do Not Feed the Animals project is doing is taking an extra look at the inhabitants of zoos. Researchers are mostly focusing on specific cases where the animal's diet was drastically changed. They then found an interesting case that occurred during the 1960s. A tea company of that time decided that the best way to advertise their company was by making a commercial of monkeys sitting at a table while drinking tea and eating sweets and basically acting like humans. Of course, adult monkeys are not designed to be restricted in that sort of manner, and would often get abusive with people that were trying to get them to act right for the tea commercial. So, commercial people decided to get baby monkeys and train them for months to be ready for being in the commercial. They did this by feeding them cake, sweets, and tea. After a certain time period, zookeepers found out that the monkeys who were raised eating like humans were highly unhealthy and had abnormal levels of sugars in their veins. They also had a weird behavioral development. This study found out that feeding animals might not have always led to a positive outcome. Similar studies of other animals that were fed the same way for a certain period of time found out that animals that were carelessly fed by humans had drastic changes in their appearance and bone structure. For example, squirrels that were only served prepared peanuts by humans so they could have increased population growth had weaker jaw muscles and were not as able to break down pine cones like other squirrels. So, even though squirrels are not considered wild creatures, they do live and find food on their own. If humans start to feed them with a different diet only for one generation, they begin getting domesticated and lose their ability to live independently. The only answer we can give as to why we love feeding animals. Researchers are mostly linking the desire to feed animals to the need that humans have for domesticating them. Numerous studies show that animal feeding came as a result of raising the animals and corralling them to eat, or keeping them as a companion, just like we do with cats, dogs, or other house pets. The study finally concluded that the animals that we now eat or use for dairy products have first come into our lives as eaters, and not as food. So in the end, there really is no real explanation or accurate reason as to why humans feed a lot of animals. The only answer that really makes sense is the fact that people have enjoyed feeding animals. It has always given them a sense of peace within themselves and made them feel like they are giving and serving a purpose. Besides that, we are curious creatures by nature, and so by looking at another creature eating and connecting with us is really entertaining and relaxing. Many studies have been done when it comes to the impacts that feeding, petting, and even sleeping with a domesticated animal have, and all the results are surprisingly positive. Interacting with animals helps people lower their stress levels, increase happiness, and even improves health in many ways, such as better sleep, lowers the chances of heart disease, and so on. So yeah, feeding animals has always helped us in a way, but the only thing that we should be cautious about is which animals should be fed, and what we should feed them so that we don't impact their health and behavior. Why do you think we like feeding animals so much? Is it only because we enjoy it, or is there something much deeper than that? We would love to know what you think about this. Anyway guys, thanks for coming to the end of this video. See you next time!